night for Mourinho's Tottenham in Leipzig as they go out of the UEFA Champions League at the last 16 stage. Going out with a whimper really was not a good night for them, and as we saw, the trouble started for them during the first half. And well, Lisa, you know, I suppose Mourinho will say what he says at the end. We'll hear from him in a while and stuff like that, but it was a really bad night for them.
It was, and do you know what? It's actually hard to watch. It's hard to watch a team like Tottenham that normally we'd be so used to during the Pochettino times being the team that has the ball and does the type of things that Leipzig did to them tonight and over the two legs. And, you know, I'm sure it's, from Tottenham fans' perspective, it's very hard to watch. And even from a Mourinho perspective, a manager who was one of and will be heralded as one of the great managers, but just to see how things are just going so wrong and that he just doesn't seem to be able to find a way of reinventing himself or just making the changes, and it's a little bit hard to watch. And
Richie, the other side of that then, has he been unlucky with the injuries? Eriksen left, Rose left. Like, you look at the talent that is missing from that squad.
Well, I think if you were to limit your analysis to Mourinho over the last few weeks, you could point to things like that. But I mean, how many times do you have to see repeated comments, behaviour, kind of unnecessarily causing conflict, repeatedly being negative and talking down players, calling out people in public, creating the kind of atmosphere which you think is exactly the opposite kind of atmosphere that you would want to create to try and motivate and energise a group of players. So I don't think he can point to bad luck at all. He's been, like, you go back over his previous regimes. I don't know how Tottenham get out of the position they're in with him in charge. I mean, for all the things we think Mourinho is really good at, like he's defence focused or he's pragmatic or he'll get the job done, at no point in these two legs did they look like they were capable of getting the job done. And it wasn't because they were just lacking their best two strikers. Defensively, they were all over the place as well. We said before the game, had Leipzig been more clinical in the first leg, this would have been a non-event from the start. So they have a huge range of problems, and they have a manager in charge whose main focus is to repeat the problems rather than take responsibility to find the solutions.
Well, how does he take responsibility? Like, he can't sign anyone else. He has a thin squad when you look at the players that are taken out of it.
So when you hear his comments, so when you hear Frank Lampard at Chelsea or other managers talk about injuries, they say the same. They say, I'm not going to talk about them. We deal with the situation we're in. It's an opportunity for other players to come in. It's a reason why we have a big squad. It's why we spend so much time and effort and money on recruitment. It's why we have massive medical and backroom staff, because injuries happen and it's up to us to go out and do the job. He doesn't say that. He says the exact opposite.
He never has, though.
Well, it's the response he's getting from the players tonight is consistent with a group of players who are starting to believe what he said. And I think that's a problem.
It's a different situation for him, though. I'm swimming against the tide here, I know, but like he came in November. He didn't have a pre-season with these guys. You know, Bergwijn, he signs, the guy goes and gets injured. He's out till the end of the season. But you know, it's a different situation for him to be in.
You can say Kane and Son are a big loss as well, but it was embarrassing. You look like, no matter what he does, that performance in the second half doesn't, you know, there's no excuse for that. How little effort, how much, you thought they'd give something, you know, get a goal back, do something, but they gave nothing. They had nothing in that second half, and that, you know, whether he has injuries or whether he hasn't had a pre-season, that doesn't you know, make an excuse for that performance for the second half. And he just seems, is he missing his assistant who he had over the years? He left just near the end at Man United. Freya, who was with him through all his success. He looks a lonely man on that touchline. He's standing there with his hands in his pockets, no one to talk to, and like the lad said, I can't see him turning this around.
Let's look at the third goal on the night for Leipzig. This was Forsberg. He was on the field, I think George said it, 26 seconds.
Yeah, great first touch, you know. Tottenham dropping off. It looked like Red Bull could score, or Leipzig could score at will if they wanted to. They were in second gear in the second half. They got a number of players forward here. It was Angelino again with the cross. He crossed for the second goal, putting a decent ball. But look at Tottenham have two players on the ground there. They've enough players back to get a block in. First touch for Forsberg. He'd be delighted with that. But yeah, just that goal just summed up Tottenham on the night.
The first half goals, Lisa, talk us through these. Sabitzer?
Yeah, I enjoyed his performance tonight. I think I talked about it at the start that he's the heartbeat of the team. He makes things happen, and again, it was symptomatic of the problems we saw from Tottenham in the first half. Timo Werner does really well, holds back, and then Sabitzer just lurking on the edge of the box, ready and waiting to pounce. And you know, he's so renowned. He's a really good dead ball specialist as well, and he has that brilliant technique. And here, it's a long diagonal ball. Aurier gets done. Angelino has a little look up, and it's a brilliant run. If you watch, you see Sabitzer there. He's alongside the referee, and he makes the run. He's 100% committed to the run. Doesn't barely even break his stride, and it's a super header at the near post. Lloris probably slightly disappointed, I would think, with both goals, but yeah, it was just the dynamism that they had every time they attacked, and the way they were able to move Tottenham's defence. It was nice to watch from an attacking point of view, but from a defending point of view, they won't enjoy the video reviews of those goals.
To finish, Richie, Leipzig, how far do you think they can go in this competition? And also about Nagelsmann, are we seeing the emergence of a new coaching superstar, 32?
Well, he's certainly continuing to live up to his reputation. Again, over the two legs, they dispatched this Tottenham team. They weren't in any way in doubt at any point. I don't think there'll be many teams who will want to play them. But again, just a small part, to go back to Mourinho, they have a huge game on Sunday against United in the context of the Premier League. And he's spoken last week about the need to drop players or rest players on Saturday because they were fatigued. Long before the final whistle tonight, this game was over. This tie was over and they were out of the Champions League. Why not make substitutions? Why not use your squad intelligently? And he waited till the 80th minute and the 91st minute. So sometimes I think he makes decisions or does or doesn't do things to make a wider point or political points or whatever. He would have been better off getting the players off the pitch he's going to need on Sunday.
And Lisa, we didn't see Troy Parrott. We saw a 17-year-old, a player younger than him, come on and make his senior debut, his Champions League debut, and maybe we're reading too much into these things, but Parrott didn't get on.
Yeah, I think, Mourinho has said what he thinks, and he doesn't believe that Troy Parrott is ready. There's probably some truth in that. He sees him every day in the training pitch. Him and his staff will know exactly what he produces on a day-to-day basis, but we don't see that. So sometimes you have to let the manager be the judge of these things. Well,
hopefully we'll see more of Troy Parrott in a Spurs shirt and indeed in an Ireland shirt in the future. That is it from us, though, for now. My thanks to Richie, Lisa and Kevin for their company here in studio.